Hello and welcome to episode 9 of my History of English series. Last time we saw the reasons why English language does not have an academy. But how does it work? If you enjoy this episode, please click the like and subscribe buttons. Off we go. Top-down and bottom-up are terms used to describe all sorts of social structures, from nation-states to companies. The most extreme form of top-down state would be a totalitarian dictatorship like a communist, Nazi or fascist state. Even democracies can be more top-down in decision-making. There are several examples in Europe, but I'm far too polite to say which countries I'm thinking of. So it's not all black and white. A more bottom-up state is one in which everyone can contribute to the decision-making process, and not just at election time. Greater autonomy is given to individuals, areas, and regions. So in terms of language, how does this work? A language that has an academy that makes the rules is more top-down than bottom-up. Of course, even languages that have an academy vary among themselves, but in an extreme case, they make the rules for everyone to follow. A formal garden is a good metaphor for a top-down language. The guardians of this garden determine where the paths are, what can grow, and in what place. The grammar of this type of language tends to be what we call prescriptive grammar. It prescribes. A bottom-up language is less likely to have an academy, and any one of us can make changes, invent words, phrases, and/or structures. If enough people copy them, then these words, phrases, or structures will become part of the language without the authorization from any official body. The Amazonian rainforest is a good metaphor for this. The only laws are the laws of the jungle. Words and structures compete for survival. They can thrive or go extinct. The grammar of this type of language is not prescriptive, it is descriptive. It describes. So how does this work in practice? Well, let's look at dictionaries. The first single language dictionary in English was published by Robert Cowdery. It was called Table Alphabetical, and it was published in 1604. It only contained 3,000 words, and the words that were considered to be more difficult. The English dictionary is created by Samuel Johnson and was published in 1755. It took Johnson and his small group of helpers 9 years to produce the dictionary. It was not financed or ordered by any government or official body. It was an investment by a group of publishers. Johnson was given a fairly free hand, and if you look at some of his dictionary entries, you'll get to know something about his character. It's a far cry from the approach of modern dictionaries. Here we can see some of his definitions. Most of these words still exist, although we would probably define them slightly differently. So cough means the same as it does today. Dull, we can see that Johnson put his own spin on it. I suspect he was having a bad day. The next one, excise tax. He, like many other people of the period, obviously thought he was paying far too much tax. I wonder what he would say about 21st century Britain. This is one that I love, kickshaw. I'm sure most of us have experienced food of this type, so maybe it's time for the word to be revived. And this other one, oats, as we can see from this definition, Johnson's opinion of the Scots was not very complimentary. However, he was not so narrow-minded, and 20 years after the publication of the dictionary, he went to Scotland with the young diarist James Boswell, who was a fascinating diarist of that period. After his tour, he changed his opinion of the Scottish people completely. As years passed, dictionary compilers tried to use more objective means to describe the words in their dictionaries. The Oxford English Dictionary, which was first produced at the end of the 19th century, made enormous efforts in this regard, but it was only in the modern digital age that we can really have a more objective dictionary. And here we're talking about corpus linguistics. Corpus linguistics is research into the use of words and phrases in a particular language. One of the most famous is the British National Corpus, but there are many others. They collect examples of written and spoken English and create enormous databases. This means that we can measure the frequency of the use of any word, phrase, or grammatical structure. What is English becomes a matter of statistics. There is no longer any need to depend on instinct, prejudice, or a language academy.
All you need is the facts. I think it's a fantastic situation. Nobody can say that any group or nation is dominating the language. What is dominating the language is empirical evidence. As far as I'm concerned, this makes the world a much more interesting place. Languages have always changed by evolution. Let's see some examples. Let's start with words that have disappeared. Now, words might disappear for several reasons. They might just fall out of use, or they are no longer relevant. For example, this one, lunting, which was, as you can see, the activity of walking around while smoking a pipe. Not many people smoke pipes nowadays, and even fewer smoke the pipe while walking at the same time. If they did so, they would be lunting, and maybe the word would still be in use. This is a word from Johnson's dictionary, fudgel, or fugel. It's wonderful. It is the act of giving the impression of working while actually doing nothing. For the life of me, I cannot understand why this word has died out. Something more recent, millennium bug. How many of you remember that? There are other words that have changed their meaning. They still exist, but often with a very, very different meaning from the one they had before. Obviously, I'm going to start with gay. When I was a child, gay meant happy and carefree. How things have changed. There are many more. As we can see, for example, afford, which now means to have resources. I can afford to buy that new car, whereas centuries ago, it just meant to go forward. To manage, to be in charge of, or to achieve something, whereas back in the day, it meant to become a man. In medieval English, girl meant a child of either sex. Now it just means a female child, and boy meant a male servant. Now, of course, it just means a male child. Naughty, badly behaved, whereas it used to mean having nothing, having naught, or having nout. Bully, which is used not just in English, but in other languages as well. In the old days, not that long ago, it meant superb, wonderful. For example, I've just got that new job. Oh, bully, or bully for you, was a more sarcastic version that I remember being used a lot when I was a boy. And of course, my favourite here is nice. Nice has meant so many things. Nowadays, we think of it as pleasant, but in the past, it has meant ignorant, simple, foolish, cowardly, elegant, and many, many more. Here are some other words that, according to the statistics, are at risk of going extinct. A fuddy-duddy, a person who is very old-fashioned and pompous. Its frequency is going down all the time. A fortnight, to describe 2 weeks or 14 nights. Skedaddle, to run away. Fishwife, a coarse-mannered woman who is prone to shouting. And another word that is disappearing, which I'm quite sad about because my grandparents used it in their dialect, hark, in the sense of listen, as in, hark, there's someone at the door. I'm really going to miss that one. Words have taken on new meanings as well as their original ones. Words like the cloud, where you can store data. Footprint, like digital footprint or carbon footprint. Friend as a verb. Unfriend as a verb. Text as a verb. Troll, not just as a mythical beast, but as someone who upsets people on the internet. I think one of my favourites is spam. We know what spam means in terms of email, but there was also a very weird, bizarre artificial meat that was served up at school dinners when I was a child. Yum yum. Some words have come very close to extinction before a new word was found for them. Broadcast springs to mind. Broadcast used to mean sow seeds by hand, as you can see from the picture, from the broad meaning the wide range of the seeds and cast meaning to throw. With drilling machines and seeding machines, this practice has died out in most parts of the world, but the word has been rescued by broadcast in terms of radio, TV, and so on.
So words are being born, words are going extinct, words are changing meaning, or words are gaining new meanings. And probably somewhere in the world, somebody is inventing a new word as we speak. This will be the subject of next week's episode, Global English. Bye for now.